right from page 15 of my book. This comes directly from the Supreme Court decision that we won, in which we were victorious to tell the federal government to get back to Washington, D.C. This case says, over and over in it, that state legislatures and state employees are not subject to federal direction. And I quote, "The great innovation of this design was that our citizens would have two political capacities, one state and one federal." Get this, each protected by incursion by the other. A legal system unprecedented in form and design, establishing two forms of government, and its own set of rights and obligations to the people who sustain it. The local or municipal authorities form distinct and independent portions of the supremacy. So we are supreme, we are sovereign. It states it in this Supreme Court decision. This is the most powerful 10th Amendment states' rights and state sovereignty decision in the history of our country. It has been hidden and covered up by the White House and by the national media, and I'm getting it out there. And now it's time to get everyone involved in this sovereignty movement, and the counties are sovereign, and that's the best place, as Thomas Jefferson said, it is the best place for government to do its job and to really protect the people.
And so what you were just reading to us, Sheriff Richard Mack, let me just underline for the people, this was not something you said. You were quoting the Supreme Court. This is what the Supreme Court said in this case Mack involving the Brady bill, yes, that you in which you sued the federal government.
Correct. All that's correct. Now, get this follow-up question statement. This is also a quote from the decision. This separation of the two spheres is one of the Constitution's structural protections of liberty. A healthy balance of power between the states and the federal government will reduce the risk of tyranny and abuse from either front. Hence, and I'm still quoting from this decision, this is right from James Madison's, quoted by Justice Scalia, hence a double security arises to the rights of the people. The different governments will control each other at the same time that each will be controlled by itself. And then I ask, so who is charged with safeguarding the people from the federal government when it refuses to control itself? And then there's a place to write the answer. Please write the answer in the space provided. That's the only place in the book on page 16 where the reader has to do any action. And I would tell this, when you hand this to your favorite sheriff or police officer or peace officer or deputy, have him read the entire book and then go back to page 16 and have him write the answer on that page.
Sheriff Richard Mack, let's take another quick break. We'll do some more business. We'll come right back to you. Stay with us for much more. Sheriff Richard Mack, do you happen to have handy there in front of you the citation for that case that you quoted from in case someone wants to look it up? Sure.
You can Google Mack versus U.S. or Mack Prince versus U.S. Because that was the other sheriff, Sheriff Prince and I, Sheriff Prince from Montana, and I ended up at the Supreme Court together. Sometimes the case is just called Prince versus U.S., P-R-I-N-T-Z, or it's called Mack versus U.S., or it's Mack Prince versus U.S. Some history books have it differently. So you should be able to Google that and find it. Cornell University has a place that I like to get all the information on because it shows the opinion of each judge who issued one in the case, including the dissenting opinion. And the dissenting opinion is quite comical if you look at that. It's basically Justice Stevens said that the federal government can do whatever they want, and we must trust their judgment in this. And seriously, that's hardly a paraphrase. It's a little bit of one, but it's basically right on what he said. And so, yeah, it kind of was, well, why do we need to come to you about anything if Congress gets to do whatever they dang well please? But this entire case, Alan, was based on the fact that Washington, D.C. and the federal government cannot do whatever they damn well please, and that the states are responsible to make sure that they stay within their proper jurisdiction and authority.
Now, let me ask you this, Sheriff Richard Mack.
Mm-hmm.
Suppose you have a scenario which is, I think, very realistic, you tell me, in which the state government, not the federal government, but a state government is imposing confiscatory gun confiscation legislation, which you do have.
Right.
And you have in that same state a sheriff. You have another version of a Richard Mack somewhere in one of the counties as a sheriff.
Yes.
What would happen there if the gun confiscation were coming from the state capital, not from Washington?
Well, it's the same thing. He has the same responsibility. He's taken the same oath, whether the confiscatory agency is from the state capital or from the United States Capitol or White House. It's the same. He has
the same thing would apply. The sheriff is the ultimate authority, no matter who is trying to intervene.
Right. Oh yeah, no question. And there's been similar battles. Like right now, the sheriff of Pinal County, which is right next to us in Arizona, came out very adamantly and vociferously against photo radar machines, and he pulled the plug. Literally, this is a quote. Sheriff from Pinal County pulls the plug on photo radar, and he believed it was unconstitutional. He's been on television news stories about this all over the state. And now the Maricopa County attorney, which is Phoenix, the biggest county and one of the biggest cities in America, came out and said that the sheriff of Pinal County, which is a small county, was correct, and that it is unconstitutional because if a camera cannot be a witness against somebody in a court of law. And
now, are you talking about Sheriff Joe? Is that whom you're talking about?
No, no. Pinal County Sheriff is Sheriff Bebeau, and the county attorney, which is Sheriff Arpaio's. And by the way, Sheriff Arpaio has endorsed my book. He's on the back of the book. He's endorsed this book because he knows and understands the authority of the sheriff. And I'm going to meet with him more about this because I'm not sure he's totally convinced about this ultimate authority, but he has told us and expressed that the sheriff is the ultimate authority in his county. So, but the Maricopa County attorney, who is the legal advisor for Sheriff Joe, said the same thing, that photo radar is unconstitutional and therefore it needs to be stopped. Now, the benefits notwithstanding.
Let me ask you this,
sure.
Sheriff Richard Mack, realistically now. We have, I don't know whether you will agree with all of this, but as far as I can see, we actually have a communist government in Washington now. We have a communist, I'm not going to call him president, he is not a president, he's a usurper, in office, imposing as fast as he can with his underlings a communist administration. They are not going to stop. This is not just politics we're talking about.
Correct.
This is beyond politics. Well, you said something like this yourself. This is beyond politics. They will not stop. They are going to go all the way to total communist dictatorship. Do you believe, Sheriff Richard Mack, that it's possible to solve this thing without bloodshed?
I hope so. And that is my ultimate hope, and that's why I believe that the sheriff is the last hope. He's the last hope to keep this peaceful. I believe he can do it. I believe he has absolutely the duty and responsibility to do it. If there are shots fired, it will be at his discretion, and with the posse and the people standing beside him, defending us against the federal incursions and federal intruders. I don't believe the federal government is going to want that in any way. Federal agencies are not going to challenge the sheriff. I've been in other places where the federal government has not challenged federal or county officials when they stand up. The federal government just does not have the wherewithal to challenge every county sheriff in this country. Even 10 or 20%, they do not have it. Dick Carver in Nye County, Nevada, opened up a road with a bulldozer with the county deputy standing guard to protect him from U.S. Forest Service and BLM agents. These things have already happened, and these people, when they are put in a corner, they cower and back off. And we need people in county government to take these strong stands.